What's up, you guys? It's Steve here, and stimulus reconciliation, a new package with support from Senator Joe Manchin, is likely, we're hearing, going to be passed, surprise, surprise, right before the midterm elections. I'm going to get you all the details. This is your breaking news stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Now, take a look at some of the headlines coming out, you guys. Manchin's bipartisan energy talks crumble, paving the way for a Democrat only deal. As we're hearing that those bipartisan talks he was trying to get together with Republicans to pass something through, they have slipped through the cracks, and now he is joining Democrats. They're going to try to pass through reconciliation, which is a majority vote for legislation. And we're hearing that they're happy to get him back on board. Take a look, you guys. Before, Joe Manchin had missed a furious call. It's now being unveiled from President Biden after sinking his $2 trillion spending bill on live TV and turning his phone off, as he didn't want to deal with the president, who was very upset that he had blocked the stimulus reconciliation bill. Now, you guys, I'm going to give you all the details as to what we can expect to see. And also, a lot of people ask, why is Joe Manchin doing this? A lot of people say he wants to be President Joe Manchin, and we've even heard President Joe Biden call each and every one of the 50 senators presidents, because right now with that structure, it makes it so each and every one of them are in a very strong position of power. Some even say as much power as the president himself. So why is it that Joe Manchin is kind of fighting against his own Democratic Party in Congress? Why is it that he would do that? Well, here's why. I'm going to break down for you the reason why the senators might take this particular stance. A lot of people say that Joe Manchin is a dino, Democrat in name only. Well, there is some truth to that, and here's the reason why. Because the American people across the nation can be furious with Senator Joe Manchin. Also, Democrats in Congress and the president, they can be absolutely livid with him and want him out. But who is it that can remove him from his position of power? Well, it's the people that put him in there, his constituents, the residents of West Virginia, of the state that placed him in that position as a senator in our federal Congress. And take a look. When you understand the makeup of West Virginia, it will cause you to understand why Joe Manchin is the way he is. Take a look. Here's political ideology from Pew Research for West Virginia, and you can see about half of the state stands conservative or Republican, and about a third of it is moderate, kind of in between on the fence, and only a small portion is liberal or say they don't know, which means West Virginia, for the most part, is a conservative Republican state. Yet, Senator Joe Manchin is registered as a Democrat, which means the fact that he's actually in power from West Virginia is pretty shocking, but he takes moderate stances as a Democrat that kind of align with Republicans. And when he's in Congress, the legislation that he passes, it must appease his constituents, the residents of West Virginia, in order for them to decide that they want to keep him in power. So above all else, he is interested in appeasing the voters of West Virginia. So take a look at the map, you guys. You can see quite clearly here, red is conservative Republican, blue is Democrats, and you can see West Virginia, there's pretty much almost no registered areas that are Democrat. They're all pretty conservative. So that kind of shares with you a little bit of the perspective of Senator Joe Manchin and why he takes the stances that he does. Because in the end, he has to appease the constituents of the state that have put him in power, because when it really comes down to it, they're the only ones that can take him out of power. And so he wants to continue to serve his nation as a senator. He needs to make sure that the residents of West Virginia are happy. So you guys, let's dive though into the details of what's unfolding right now, as we're hearing that Democrats are likely going to get him on board to pass through a reconciliation bill. We'll find out what's included. But if by chance they cannot come to an agreement before midterm elections, we're hearing that President Joe Biden, he's likely going to be issuing some executive orders and executive actions here very soon. And if you missed my last video, you might want to check it out. As we're hearing, the president has already issued some executive orders and actions, but people are saying it's not enough. We need more. We feel like there's unfulfilled promises from the administration, and his approval is sinking. And we're going to see if he busts out executive orders for more stimulus provisions, including more checks, which we're hearing is accepted by 80% of the population. They support more checks, and that is the number one provision that has fought poverty during this pandemic more than any other thing. So we will see, you guys, but let's dive into the latest that we're getting about negotiations and talks for a stimulus reconciliation bill. Now, before we dive in, if you could do me a quick favor, just takes a second. Don't forget, smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Helps me out a ton. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments, share this out. This is your first time here and you'd like to stay up to date, totally free. All you got to do is take a moment to hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. I'll keep you up to speed on everything going on so you don't miss out on anything. And if you got any specific questions, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3. Consider joining the second channel, Steve Ram Finance, to learn about growing wealth and personal finance. And keep an eye out for our comprehensive list of all checks on all levels to make sure that you don't miss out on anything. But with that being said, you guys, let's dive into the latest articles and get you caught up. So, link in the description below to this article that just came out yesterday, and it reads that Senator Joe Manchin, he missed an angry message from President Joe Biden after taking his signature $2 trillion Build Back Better plan in a Fox News interview and then turned off his phone. Now, Biden had spent months negotiating with Manchin, whose support in the Senate was vital for getting Biden's plan through the process of reconciliation, which is a majority vote, which in a 50-50 Senate requires that every single Democratic senator vote in its favor, and Joe Manchin would not. Now, the Post report says that Biden came close to securing Manchin's backing for the $1.8 trillion package covering social care and the climate crisis, and that is after they had removed several stimulus provisions. We had heard they wanted to have stimulus checks, child tax credits, all of an assortment of different provisions. There was even suggestions for unemployment, reoccurring monthly checks. There were several progressives that wanted the Build Back Better bill to be $6 trillion, $7 trillion, $10 trillion in spending. Joe Manchin said that was too much. They cut it down to 3.5, then they cut it down to 1.8, and then now still he's saying we need to cut it down even further to less than 1 trillion as they're trying to get him back on board in negotiations. But back then, the negotiations fell apart after the White House ignored a request from Manchin's office to remove the Democratic senator's name from a statement saying that negotiations were still going on. Now, Manchin is said to have furiously texted a Biden aide to say that the statement was unconscientious and extremely dangerous at a time when activists were targeting his family to protest his holding up of the bill. A few days later, in an interview on Fox News, Manchin announced that he would not back the bill, with Manchin firmly against it. The bill stood no chance of passing. Now, the interview marked the breakdown of the negotiations, the Post reported. The outlet said that after the interview, Manchin missed a frustrated call from the president because he had turned off his phone. And the report said that when Biden and Manchin spoke later, the exchange was heated and tense, adding that in conversations with aides, Biden expressed doubt about Manchin's intentions. Manchin told Insider in January that he had taken his offer of a $1.8 trillion compromise off the table and that any new discussions about the bill would be starting from scratch. And so we're hearing that that is taking place now, and take a look at this article that's going to be emphasizing that. Scoop, Manchin's bipartisan energy talks crumble, paving the way for a Democratic-only deal. As we had heard that Senator Joe Manchin had positioned himself pretty well. He had two different negotiations taking place. One with Democrats for reconciliation and one with Republicans to try to get a bipartisan bill passed through. But those bipartisan talks have fallen apart, leaving the only path for passing any form of a Build Back Better, energy, climate, stimulus reconciliation bill, any of the provisions they wanted to see to be reconciliation. That will be the only path forward. Take a look, you guys. Link in the description below. This just came out. Bipartisan Senate energy talks led by Senator Joe Manchin are essentially over, with Republican senators convinced that Manchin is close to a reconciliation deal with Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, according to people familiar with the matter. Now, the death of the bipartisan approach will allow Manchin and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to focus on a potential deal that includes green energy tax credits and tax increases to pay for them. But any deal will also need 49 other Senate Democrats, including the support of Kyrsten Sinema, who hasn't been directly involved in the Manchin-Schumer negotiations. Any Senate package will also need buy-in from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and President Joe Biden. Now, these talks had been a long shot to begin with, said Kevin Kramer. He told Axios, Manchin informed us in the last meeting that reconciliation is probably the route that he's going down. So we've received confirmation Joe Manchin is on board to try to pass something through. We do not have any meeting scheduled that I know of at this point, though. Senator Manchin continues to work with the bipartisan colleagues to find solutions that address our nation's climate and energy security needs, a Manchin spokesperson had said. But what we've heard is that overall bipartisan talks have fallen apart. Reconciliation is on board. Manchin is going forward with this strategy to pass through legislation. And we will see, because this could be the only way that Democrats pass through more legislation. Now, in addition to that, we've also heard that if these talks fall apart, well, President Joe Biden has taken into consideration executive orders and actions. People are just wondering when, how long are we going to be waiting, and what will it be for? Will it be the things that people are asking for, like checks, unemployment provisions, child tax credits, an assortment of things that people felt like they were promised and we have not yet received, and the first of which we have heard will be wiping out $10,000 of student loan debt for people across the nation. Now, we will see, and we're hearing that as we get closer day by day to these elections, things are likely going to be ramping up, and we'll be hearing more and more, and we are seeing almost every day now new proposals coming out for federal level provisions. But you guys, I will keep you up to date here on the channel. And as always, thank you so much. That is the latest. Thank you for joining me, and I will keep you up to date as more information rolls out. If you made it this far and you haven't already, don't forget to take a quick second, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Helps me out a ton. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments, share this out. If this is your first time here and you'd like to stay up to date, it's totally free. Come join the Ram fam. All you got to do is take a quick moment to smash that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions for me, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3. Consider joining the second channel, Steve Ram Finance. And with that being said, you guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.